my fiance's dad has been in and out of the hospital the last 2 or 3 months, in and out of rehabs, different things like that. And I'm just struggling with trying to find my place and trying to be supportive, not only to my fiance, but to his family as well, without kind of overstepping my bounds. So I just wanted to get your take on that.
How do you feel like you're overstepping your bounds?
I feel like I tend to get more worked up. I'm learning than some, like, what I'm finding is that his family, their dynamics are different than mine, obviously. But I'm learning in their family, they tend to get riled up on things that aren't necessarily an issue. I'm struggling with getting straight information from his mom or his sister or even him sometimes. And so I'm just trying, I feel like I can help. I have background in social work. I'm a social worker for a Medicaid waiver program.
Oh, no.
I know. So I'm trying not to be that person, but I also
You're a trained social worker. That's how you guys are. Y'all want to help everybody.
I feel like there's a need to be supportive. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what's too much and what's, not enough. Okay. I don't know.
There's 3 big challenges here, okay? Here's challenge number 1. You have to hose your boots off. What do I mean by that? If you're a social worker by trade, when you walk in the door, you're a fiancé first. Okay. And so I have, like, the number of times my wife has said, I don't need any of that counseling crap in here. She was right. And that was on me. I gotta unplug.
Okay.
My dad was a homicide detective. And so whenever he wanted to find out who ate the last, peppermint York, like, it was like, all right, everybody line up. Like, hey, dude, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to turn your professional thing off when you walk in the door. That's number 1. Number 2, I have a rule. You can adopt this or not, but as a mental health professional, there's always going to be somebody somewhere that you think I can help. That's why we got into this job, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You will become the most annoying person at every party, every church gathering, everything if you don't adopt this, but you don't have to. I'm just telling you, I've learned this the hard way.
Yeah.
I only answer questions I'm asked.
Okay.
And I only enter into help if I'm asked.
Okay.
Unless I see a dire emergency. If someone's like a truck's coming, I'm going to shove somebody out of the way.
Sure.
But if I hear somebody like, dude, my wife is fill in the blank XYZ, and I'm like, you're a dummy. You should not have done that. I used to just be like, hey, let me tell you something, bro. I don't do that anymore. Unless you're one of my core friends. Okay? Here's the third thing. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. Almost always in these situations, you find out who you're married to or who you're marrying as potential life transitions and or tragedies emerge. And you have to be honest if you're asking yourself, is this how he's going to handle things? If we ever have kids and one of our kids gets sick, when I potentially get cancer one day, is he just going to bury his head in the sand too? And that relationship issue is what you really need to drill in on.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm right or wrong there.
Nope, you're right.
Okay.
That I see a lot of the burying the head in the sands, not only like with my fiance, but with his dad even, who's sick, and then his mom. Like, they're very slow to speak up, very slow to ask questions or, kind of get to the bottom of things. And so I feel like, okay, maybe they just don't know the language. Maybe they just don't know what to ask. But
or maybe they just don't care. Or maybe they don't want it.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking. The question you have to ask is, do you want to be married to somebody who has that roadmap and who's unwilling to invest and learn and challenge themselves to develop a new roadmap? And that is the harder conversation.
Yeah. I figured it was something like that.
And so here's an amazing way. Like, here's how I would have that conversation. This is an ad for BetterHelp. I talk to hurting people for a living, and yes, I can help out folks in tiny chunks of time here on the internets, but often more help is needed. That's why I recommend people go to therapy. And if you're thinking about therapy, try BetterHelp. It's 100% online, so it's affordable and convenient. They've got over 30,000 therapists, and they're great at finding just the right one for you. Visit betterhelp.com/Delony for 10% off your first month. Here's how I would have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Something along the lines of, I am seeing a pattern that I would love permission to talk about, but it involves talking about your parents. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he might say, I don't want to talk about my parents. He might say, okay, I want to talk about you and me, though. And so at some point, we need to have this conversation. Will you tell me when it's a good time?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm coming back to you in 24 or 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be able to say, I'm watching a pattern emerge. I'm no better than anybody else, but I'm watching that when scary medical news comes up, scary financial news comes up, scary whatever, your parents bury their head in the sand. They don't want to ask questions. They don't want to try to solve the problem. And things just kind of is what it is, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that same tendency in you, and that makes me nervous for our future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I want to be with somebody that faces problems head on.
Yeah.
And that's a scary proposition of a conversation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which off and on, we've kind of broached that subject. Like, this has been going on, I mean, obviously for the last few months, but recently there was an issue that came up. And so over the last few weeks, we've been kind of having that conversation. We're in premarital counseling.
Awesome.
So it's kind of perfect timing for things like that to be brought up. And so it's an ongoing kind of conversation. Neither one of us have a ton of long-term relationship experience. And so I think we're struggling with coming together versus maintaining like our independence and stuff like that in a lot of ways, where I'm used to handling certain things with my family, but then I don't want to interject my opinion on what's happening with his family to try to be like intrusive, but we're supposed to come together and, you know, have a foundation of a stance on certain things.
Sure.
And so we're just, you know, kind of talking through a lot of those things. And he isn't typically one to speak up. Since we've been together, he's been more outspoken. He used to be before, you know, we got together, he used to be very just quiet. He kind of let everything around him kind of happen. And now he's more outspoken about it. But I think it's also just a learning curve for both of us.
Perfect.
And he's practicing that. So.
That's the best you can ask for both of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I always want for couples is not to, especially in premarital counseling, is not to have, I mean, you're basically planning for the first 3 months or first 6 months, like who's going to pay what, who's going to hit send on the bills, right? And what bank are we going to use? And we're both going to share a checking account, right? And are we going to pay off our student loan? Like there's 6 months of mechanical stuff, right? Logistics. The bigger thing I want people to get from premarital counseling is a framework for repair. There will come a time that one of us hurts each other more than once, more than 20 times over the course of our marriage. How will we come back to the table? Or when I see a side of you that I don't like, how do I bring that to the table? How do I give you bad news? How do I give you, I did something and I need to ask your forgiveness? That's what I'm interested in premarital counseling, especially for folks who are getting married a little bit later. I say later, there is no breaks anymore, but like who have established their own independent identity, their own lives, they paid their own bills for years, and now they're joining two people.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in, do y'all have a framework for when we find a disagreement, do we have a way that we can talk about it? That one person doesn't try to beat the other person up, the other person doesn't stick their head in the sand or whatever, right? And so he might be practicing becoming more outspoken. I'm way more interested in his actions.
Okay.
And there it goes. Sounds like Kelly's been out driving again in the background. She's not a great driver. Okay. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think we've kind of gotten to the part in premarital counseling about like conflict resolution, communication, all of that. I tend to be like, want to talk about it. He tends to, what I'm learning is I bring up something, he wants time to process it.
Perfect.
So we're in the middle.
Okay, so here's the compromise there. Here's the amazing compromise. Me and my wife are the exact opposite of you two. I want to talk about it right this second. She needs about 48 hours. And so the compromise is making sure when I say something hard to hear, or I put a concern down, or I put I'm sad or frustrated about this particular thing, and she needs time to process it, making sure we have a day or a time on the calendar when we will come back.
Okay.
Because sometimes I just need some time to process it becomes a way to stall out and not deal with it. And also, sometimes me needing to talk about it all right now is less about solving the issue and more about me vomiting on somebody. And so me saying, hey, I've got this issue, and my wife saying, yikes, that's big or that's heavy, or I need time to process that. I don't even know how I feel about that. I need 48 hours. We're going to go to breakfast on this day and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And that puts a boundary on her. That puts a boundary on me. And so if your husband or your fiance needs time to process, hey, we have to talk about this, or I'm struggling with your parents and I'm afraid that's going to become us. Whoa, that's a lot. I need to process it. Okay. Let's put a date and time on the calendar that we're going to circle back and talk. And that bounds it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it also would be a little bit more reassuring to me, like, okay, we're going to have a conversation.
It's not just going to be a ... forever.
Yes. Yeah. That is what I struggle with.
And by the way, it also gives him some freedom that he doesn't, like I shoot from the hip, my wife does not. And so she has at times felt like she's got to enter into a firefight, and that's just not how she rolls. She's a sniper. Yeah. She shoots you when you're not looking. 3 days later, right? I just want to have a duel at sundown today, right now, right? And so it gives her peace too, that she knows she doesn't have to respond in real time in a debate right away. And both of us walk away from that exchange with peace. Okay. So you can ask in marriage counseling if this is a 24, 48, or 72 hour issue. Like if you came in and said, hey, I think I have feelings for a coworker right now, we need to talk about it. He might say that's a 72-hour issue. If you came in and said, your parents have struggled with alcohol, I've seen you drinking a lot more, he might say, you're right. Oh God, that's a 48-hour issue. Okay. You were late on paying the water bill again. I want to be the person who hits the thing like, whoa, that's a lot. Now I feel ashamed and blah, blah. That's a 24-hour issue. Y'all get to decide, but just giving those three frameworks, and I just made that up on the spot. That doesn't have to be what y'all do, but having a couple of buttons y'all can push will give you some freedom in that negotiation. But all that to say is, to recap, I don't answer questions I'm not asked anymore. I don't interject in people's relationships unless there's a stone cold emergency anymore. If somebody is lecturing me on the virtues of a vegan diet, I just let them rip. If someone's like, you know what's the best ever? Carnivore. If you eat fiber, you're going to die. I just, whatever, dude. Knock your lights out. I saw a meme recently that Keanu Reeves was like, life is too short. If you tell me 5 + 5 is 8, I'm going to nod and say, that's great. I'm going to walk on. I don't have time. I don't have time for it. Unless you ask me, hey, what's 5 + 5? I'm going to tell you the answer. And most of the time, my relationship projections are me trying to protect myself from having a hard conversation at home with my wife or with my kids.